In a small village, there lived a young man named Ahmed, known for his honesty and integrity. One day, he promised his friend, Omar, that he would help him build a fence for his farm. Ahmed's heart was sincere, and he knew the value of keeping promises, especially as taught by the Prophet, Pbuh. The Prophet, Pbuh, had said, "A sign of hypocrisy is breaking a promise," a saying that stayed in Ahmed's heart. Days passed, and Ahmed became busy with his own work, yet he knew he had committed to Omar. His family urged him to take a break, but Ahmed remained focused on his promise. He could not delay. The day arrived when Ahmed finally went to Omar's farm. Omar was already waiting, his face filled with hope. Omar smiled and said, "I knew you would come, Ahmed. I trusted your words." Ahmed felt a deep sense of responsibility. As they began working, Ahmed reflected on how promises, big or small, shape one's character. Every word mattered. A few hours into their work, Ahmed's leg hurt, but he kept pushing himself, remembering the value of fulfilling promises. Omar noticed his discomfort and asked if Ahmed needed rest. Ahmed shook his head, determined to keep his word. He recalled a story from the Prophet's, Pbuh, life. Once, he made a promise to his companions, and he kept it. The companions were amazed at how even in the most difficult situations, the Prophet, Pbuh, never broke his word. As the sun began to set, the fence was complete. Omar looked at it and said, "You've kept your word." Ahmed smiled, but a part of him felt humble. "It is not I who kept my word, but the guidance of the Prophet." Omar laughed. "Indeed, your sincerity shows." Ahmed felt proud to have lived up to the teachings of the Prophet. That night, Ahmed prayed with gratitude, asking Allah for the strength to always fulfill his promises. The next day, a traveler passed through the village. He heard of Ahmed's reputation and came to seek his advice. The traveler asked, "How does one become a man of integrity?" Ahmed smiled and recalled his actions with Omar. He spoke of the Prophet's, Pbuh, words, "A sign of hypocrisy is breaking a promise," and how this shaped his life. The traveler listened carefully and thanked Ahmed, realizing that true honor lies in fulfilling promises, no matter the difficulty. Ahmed continued to live his life, always remembering the importance of keeping promises, knowing his actions honored the Prophet's teachings. Years later, as an elder, Ahmed shared his story with young ones, teaching them the priceless value of honesty. One day, a young man asked Ahmed how he could become someone of integrity. Ahmed smiled and shared his story. He explained how the Prophet, Pbuh, lived with the utmost integrity and always kept his promises, no matter the cost. The young man left with a heart full of inspiration, knowing that keeping promises was the path to honor. Ahmed's reputation spread far beyond the village, and his teachings about promises became a beacon for others. And so, Ahmed's legacy became one of unwavering integrity, guided by the profound wisdom of the Prophet, Pbuh. The people of the village remembered him as a man who always kept his word, a true follower of the Prophet's example. As Ahmed grew older, he remained steadfast in fulfilling his promises, leaving behind a legacy of trust and sincerity. On his deathbed, he whispered, "I pray Allah accepts my efforts in keeping my promises, as the Prophet taught us." His family and friends remembered Ahmed for his honesty, passing down his story as a lesson for generations. And the village became known as a place where promises were sacred, where the teachings of the Prophet, Pbuh, thrived. The lesson of Ahmed's life spread far and wide, that the strength of a person lies in keeping their promises. In the end, Ahmed's story was a reminder to all. A promise kept is a reflection of a pure heart. The Prophet, Pbuh, had said, "A sign of hypocrisy is breaking a promise." Ahmed lived by these words until his last breath. His life became an example, teaching everyone that integrity and trustworthiness are the foundation of a believer's character. And thus, Ahmed's journey became immortal, not in words alone, but in every promise he fulfilled and every life he touched.